Peralta. It's great to be here. This is my normal Thursday morning 10 a.m. Facebook Live. I love doing this for you. I just make cards, and I usually make two of the same design because what do? I give them away. So it's always kind of nice. This particular card, a lot of times will give away embellishments or ribbon that I use on the card. This card is just stamps and dies, so there's no embellishments. So when I send the card, I'll just throw in a half pack of something, and it will be a surprise when you get the card. So I'll do the drawing for that on Tuesday. So looking forward to that. So you still have time. If you share, which several of you are already doing, thank you, Marty. Thank you, Mary Ellen. If you share, come back. Let me know that you've shared. That's always great. It helps me build my business really, truly. So thank you. Okay, I'm going to flip the camera down and we're going to get started creating this pretty card. And then I've got all the supplies here, so I'll show you what we're using. Okay, here are the supplies. We are going to use the stamp set called Forever and Always, and it's all part of the wonderful suite that they have at the very beginning of the catalog. I know Valentine's is coming up pretty soon. You don't have to use these cards for Valentine's. These are great love cards to have on hand year-round. We always need to send love notes to each other, especially now during this time where we can't even be together physically in many cases. So get those love cards ready. So that's what we're going to do today. Make some love cards. All right. Then we have designer series paper. Obviously my favorite one. I think it might be the only one I've been using from Celebration. It's the Oh So Ombre 6x6 designer series paper. It's beautiful. We'll be using the Blackberry Bliss today. The colors we're putting on these cards, simple. Blackberry Bliss. Oh, I think I grabbed the wrong one. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. Pretend this is Blackberry Bliss. It actually is Rich Razzleberry, but it should have been Blackberry Bliss. So we're going to use Blackberry Bliss and Whisper White. And we have our ink pad here. Do I even have, oh, I have bad news. My stamps are on the other side of the room. Well, I'll worry about that when I'm stamping. But we're using the Blackberry Bliss ink pad today. Might as well open it up and get it ready here. And we are going to be coloring, and we're going to use some Stampin' blends. So we've got the Blackberry Bliss Stampin' Blend Combo and the Dark Daffodil Delight. And then here are the cards. Now, when I posted the picture, I am quite sure you were not able to see up close and personal on these pictures just how cute these cards are. So I want to share it right now. Notice these adorable little flowers. There's some up here, and then there's some down here. We're going to be putting those onto our cards, and they're just sweet. They're part of the die set. And so I did tone on tone. If you want a little more contrast, you could make them white or flirty flamingo, or rococo rose might be pretty if you want to accent those a little bit more. But I just was looking for a really kind of elegant look, and so sometimes tone on tone works really well for that. And then I couldn't decide, should I try to go with just cutting out the flowers and not coloring them? Because as you know, it's kind of a trendy thing these days. But I couldn't do it. I mean, as much as I love this card, that's just kind of black, white, and Blackberry Bliss, I just couldn't do it. I had to add the color. I like the one with color better. But I did keep one black and white so that you could see, so that if you don't want to bother with coloring, you can see that that is also a perfectly beautiful card. So let me get my stamps from across the room, and then we'll actually start stamping and getting this done. All right, so the first thing that we're going to need to create this card is a card base. So our card base, as I mentioned, Blackberry Bliss 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And the inside panel is what we're going to do first. So our inside panels are 4 by 5 1/4, and I have that in basic white. Kind of just your standard panel for the inside of your card. Oh, you're wondering what the inside panel even looks like. Well, that would be helpful. Let me show it to you right here. So this stamp set has some really big words, And they're awesome. Aren't they beautiful? So I love them. I think it really makes a big impact when you open it up and see that great big forever and always. So let me get my Stampin' mat, because this is a photopolymer stamp and you'll get a little better impression if you're using a Stampin' mat. And what we're going to do first is put down the bottom layer. So the layer that I'm using to accent on the bottom, maybe I shouldn't put this on just in case I goof up the stamping. I haven't actually tested my stamp pad today, so let me do that. We're going to stamp first, glue on attachments later. Oh no, I think my pad might be a little dry. Well, that's okay. I've got re-inker right behind me. Give me a second. Might as well show you how I re-ink. So I've got my Blackberry Bliss here. This is rather dangerous. Let me take this away so we don't get re-inker on our panel. So what I do is I just kind of put it on here like this. And then once I get a good layer on, then I smooth it in with the nozzle tip. So let me do that and just rub it in until there's no more shiny spots left and it's all soaked into the pad. So there we go. That's how you re-ink an ink pad. All right, now let's try this again. So we're going to ink up. Oh yes, so much better. So we're inking up our always. And then let's go ahead and stamp that. We're going to stamp that at an angle on our card. So just like so. Give that a little press to set. There it is. I'm going to do the same thing on the other card panel. Just stamp it at an angle. Beautiful. All right, then we have Forever And. So the Forever And stamp, I have it on kind of a big block. You might wonder, well, why didn't you put it on a small block? I'll tell you why. First of all, it's helpful to get it on there straight. I had it on there kind of crooked. Okay, so the reason that I put such a small stamp on such a big block is because it gives me eyeball space to make sure, you know, if you have it on a small block, you are a little bit limited in your vision as to where it is stamping, especially here because I want it straight across the top of this big word. So when I have a bigger block, I can see through all around and see exactly where I'm stamping to make sure it looks perfect, which it does. It's always good when that happens. Do the same thing over here. You'll notice that the bigger block does give you a lot more room to look around and make a good stamped image and make sure that it's in there where you want it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to glue on those strips. So this is just the leftover pieces of the Oso Ombre paper that I was cutting for the front of the card. So these are 3/4 inch strips, and I'm just going to attach those to the bottom here. Let me move this out of the way. And I'm just going to use some Stampin' Seal. So I'm just putting a little bit of Stampin' Seal along the bottom of the card, and then I can take my Oso Ombre paper, and I think I'll go like this so that it, and I don't care if it flips outside of this edge because I can trim that with my scissors. Well, obviously I have to do some trimming. It's not going to fit in the card like that. So I'm really just focusing on lining it up at the bottom and then pressing it down, and then I can flip it over, use my paper snips, and just trim those up perfect. There we go. And here's the other side. Okay. There we are. So we have our inside panel done. So let's go ahead and put those into the card. I know some people get frustrated that I do inside panels first, but if you saw my desk, you would understand why. I like to get things out of the way and there's usually not that much stamping and there's not that much stuff going on in the inside panel, so I'd like to get that done. Plus, it helps me emphasize to you how important it is to do inside panels. Do you know what every single person does when they get a hand-stamped card? They go, ooh, ah, and then what is the very next thing they do? They open it up. Like, hello, we need to have our insides done, everybody. So that's why I do insides. All right, so now let's go ahead and work on the rest of the card here. So I'm looking frantically. It's got to be here somewhere. Here it is. We have 2 more panels that we're working with here that we're going to be stamping, or not stamping, but we're going to be putting onto the front panel of our card. So this is the next thing to do. We have 2 panels of Whisper White. Let me bring in the card again to show you what direction we're moving here. We want to make a pretty 1/8 inch border around our Oso Ombre paper to really bring the contrast between the Blackberry Bliss and the Oso Ombre. So that white piece of paper is going to act as a really vibrant frame for you. And that is 1/8 inch bigger than the Designer Series paper. So we've cut the Designer Series paper in the pattern at 3 by 4 1/4. And then we're going to put it on to these panels of Whisper White that are 1/8 inch bigger, 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. So I think this time I'm going to use multi-purpose glue because I have it here and I do know that I need to use it a little bit later in this video, so I might as well just get it started. So just do a little rectangle and then set it on here, and you usually have a little bit of wiggle room to make sure that's even all the way around. That looks pretty good. All right, then we'll do the next one. Thank you everyone so much for being here today. I know that not all of you can catch this video at the time that I do it, and that is why I leave it open for commenting through the weekend and through the first day of the next week so that you have time to get on here and watch it and make comments and get into the drawing. So there's a reason why I do that. I want as many people to have the opportunity to win as possible. And it's so funny because when I do the drawing and I send them the notification that they've won, they'll contact me and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I won. I don't win anything. So that's always heartening to know that you're sending cards to people who are excited to be winners. So it's pretty fun. All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and we're going to put these panels at an angle onto the front of our card. Rosemary was so cute and funny last week. She said, oh, you're doing things at an angle. Is anything wrong? Because I normally never angle things. I just I'm a straight and narrow girl. So the fact that I've been angling lately has thrown some of my customers into a tizzy. They're like, oh wow, Kay, you are going so far out of your comfort zone. It's just funny. Of course, we're all saying that kind of jokey because of course I angle things, but just not as often as I have been lately. Oh goodness. Okay, so we're gonna angle this one. So one of them I'm putting the lighter spot to the bottom and the other one I'm putting the lighter spot to the top, just for something different. Okay, that is in there. All right, so we have the front of our cards done, so much. Then what you want to do, and I'm not doing this because I did this in advance because coloring would take a long time otherwise, but you want to get some basic white paper and you're going to stamp for each card one flower that looks like this and one flower that looks like this. The ink you're going to use when you do that is Tuxedo Black. The reason you want to use Tuxedo Black is because it works with Stampin' Blends. Not all inks work with Stampin' Blends, so be sure you're using something that is a dye-based ink, and we are using Tuxedo Black. So I did that. Let me show them to you. And I colored some in advance. So I'll share with you again how I did that. So we're going to put the little one on top going upside down. And we're going to put the big one at the bottom. And then I left one to color with you because they're all colored kind of the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to color the center of it first with dark Daffodil Delight. So I'll open this up and that's done. Pretty easy. Then I'm going to take the light Blackberry Bliss blend and we will just go ahead and color this flower. So I'm just kind of, you know, coloring with Stampin' blends is so easy because you know how when you color with markers, you get all those lines? Stampin' blends, it just all smooths out and looks so good. So even if you don't think you're a very good colorer, you can do wonderful things with the Stampin' blends because they are very, very forgiving. And that's what I love about them. Now, you don't want to get too close to the edge because sometimes it's pretty easy to go out of the line. So you will have to develop a little bit of skill of working with the brush ends or the fine tip end just to know kind of where you need to stop and start. I'm just coloring right up to those Daffodil Delight, that Daffodil Delight center. All right, so that one's done. That was the light Blackberry Bliss. And now to add our accents, this is another thing that's just so easy with Stampin' blends. You just take the dark stamping blend now, and this time I'm going to use the fine tip end. Wonder if I should be zooming my camera up. I know what I'll do. I'll hold this close. So there it is before we put the dark Stampin' blend on. Now I'm going to do that and then I'll show you the difference. So again, I'm going to use the fine tip end and I'm going to go in and I'm just going to add accents to wherever there are little hash marks on this flower. Because Stampin' Up! Kind of tells you where the dark areas need to be by the way the flower is designed with the little shadows and the little spots that want a little bit different color. That's what gives it depth. So when you accent that with a Stampin' blend, you are adding a lot more depth to your flowers and it just really, really makes a difference. Now, for those of you that don't have many Stampin' blends and you're looking at how many you want, which is probably everything in the catalog, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, that would be a little bit of an expense, join Stampin' Up! With the starter kit and put them all in your starter kit. You'll get free shipping and handling and a 20% discount to boot. And then you get to be a part of my team, the Creative Crafters team. And if you want to continue placing orders to get 20% off, you can. Or you can go back to being my happy customer, but at least you've given it a try and you've gotten a deal on your blends. So here it is up close with the dark Blackberry Bliss. And it looks so nice. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to attach these. So let me grab my Stampin' Seal. We'll just add a little Stampin' Seal to the back here. I'm not even putting them on dimensionals. I mean, this is almost like lazy stamping. I mean, this is kind of a lazy card to make. It's very gorgeous and beautiful, but it's not really that hard. It's actually kind of a beginner card. I mean, unless, well, I guess if you're using the Stampin' Cut and Emboss, maybe not, but you could hand cut the flowers if you don't have that machine, you know, to make your dies. So let me go ahead. We just got one more here to do. Uh-oh. So I did not hold this properly. You have to remember that when you're doing Stampin' Seal, that you hold it more upright and you break it off that direction. You break it off towards the back. And when you do that, then you don't have to struggle. I just forgot there for a second. All right, so there we go. We have our cards getting there, okay? Let's go ahead and put those darling accents above and below. I mean, again, this is not something you're going to be able to see that well, but when you're holding the card in your hand, they're beautiful and quite noticeable. So in advance of the video, I went ahead and I cut a bunch of these cute flowers that are part of that die set. If only I could find the die set. Where is it? I'll show it to you. It looks like this. There's a conglomeration of 4 little dies, or 4 little flowers all on one die. So when you run it through your die machine, you will get all 4 flowers at one time. So you only need 4 flowers for each card. So if you're making 2, and then I just put them on glue dots. And then I'm just going to set them right here on my card. So 2 above and 2 below. And again, this is not, I'm sure this is not showing up well on the computer on my video. But again, this is one of those little extra details that when you are holding the card in your hand, you go, oh wow, look at, there's even little tiny flowers up here, tone on tone, and it looks very, very elegant. So there we go. So pretty. I love it. Okay, then the next thing we're going to do is, there are some dies on here where you can actually cut out these big words. So we've got always that you can cut out, and then you can put a color bubble around it. So my color bubble is going to be white, but you could do, you know, you could make a black cutout and then do a yellow color bubble, or whatever you want to do depending on the paper or the style that you want to create with this card. So I did white bubbles. So my white bubble for the word love looks like this. So let me grab, let's see, I'm going to put this onto my silicone mat so you can see it really well. Then I cut out the actual love word with Blackberry Bliss paper to match the card base. So that is here. So I'm going to set this in here now and show you how I did that. Had I been thinking, which I wasn't when I was making this card, I would have put this on adhesive sheets, because then all I would have had to do is peel the adhesive sheets. But these actually are pretty good size letters, so you do have room to do some multi-purpose liquid glue. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to add some multi-purpose liquid glue, and we're going to just use glue today. However, if you think ahead a little better than I do, you will probably want to use adhesive sheets. Actually, I'll tell you, I was actually making this card up at our cabin, and I didn't have adhesive sheets with me. So that was part of the problem. All right, so here we go. And there it is. So we got the love in. You just pop that right over the top of that white word, of that little white word bubble. Now you're gonna, here's your love part. So again, just do a few little drops of glue on a couple of spots. So you don't really need it all over. Just a few little spots. Oh, and then I say you don't need it all over, and then I am absolutely obsessed with putting it all over. Oh, it's just, you know, it's just how it goes. All right, so then you drop your love in, and you just follow right along with where that white bubble is, and there it is. Oh my gosh, isn't that cute and beautiful? I have to hold it up so you can see. I love it. Love, love, love. All right, so we got that done. Then I want to point out something else. I want to show you that on this bundle, there's these different size words. So there's you more, I'm sure it's love you more, or together, or you, or with. There's all these different words. Well, guess what? Stampin' Up! Also created 3 different word dies. So you can actually stamp your word on a piece of scrap, and then depending on the length of the word, you can cut it out with the appropriate die that matches, that matches the word. Isn't that awesome? Oh my gosh, I love it. So I couldn't decide because I thought, well, maybe it'd be almost looking like you were underlining the word love if you used a die cut that was a little bigger than the word. So I tried that. It was a good idea. I'm not sure I like it. I like this one better, where I just stamp the word you and cut it out with the smaller word. And I think that looks like a little cooler, but you know. All right, so I did that. Let me show them to you. Got my little words ready. And I cut them out with the smaller of the word dies. And then, so now we just have to put these onto our card. So what are we going to do? We are going to use mini dimensionals. Yes, yes, today is a mini dimensional day because these are pretty skinny little word boxes. So you need skinny little dimensionals. And I just had a customer well, I guess it was 2 days ago now, who stocked up on all of her adhesive supplies. Because, actually I had this happen twice in the last week. I've had 2 customers that were just panicking because they're making so many cards they were running out of adhesive. And of course, you don't run out of mini dimensionals as often because you don't use them as often. But then all at once there'll come a day when you don't have them and panic sets in. Because then you're stuck cutting all of your other dimensionals in half, which isn't that much fun. So once you get used to using mini dimensionals, it's kind of awkward to live without them. Just speaking from experience. All right, so we're putting mini dimensionals even on this just because we have them out. We could probably put some bigger ones on here, but the minis are pretty easy. So I am just popping those on in a few different places. And we don't need to, we don't need to put dimensionals on that little swoop thing there. That's okay. Some things can fall. You just have to choose what. And those little things, that don't matter. Oh, this is a little bit tedious. Hopefully you guys aren't turning the channel and getting too bored here. We are almost done with this card, but I do have to finish it up properly. Oh, goodness. There we go. Got them on. It's almost done. Okay, so there's our 1 love bubble. There's our 2 love bubble. Let's get these bubbles on our card. So what you do is, remember how we stamped the always at an angle? Well, we're going to put the love at an angle too, from one flower to the next. Just pop that on. Then grab one of those U's and pop that on right with it. And there it is. Love you. Thank you. I love you too. All right, here's another one. Drop that in at an angle and add our little U. And you guys are so sweet. Thanks for watching me today. Here's our cards. Aren't they beautiful? I'll grab the other cards too, just so you can see what we all did here. There they are. It was so fun to be here today. I will be here again on Tuesday morning. So if you love watching these videos and learning how to make 2 cards with, some coffee drinking in between, join me on Tuesday. I will be debuting my February kit to go, which is all about chicks. So we're going to do the Hey Birthday Chick bundle coming up in February for the February kit to go. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you on Tuesday. Bye, everybody.